Greetings. I was going to do a live stream today, but here in Costa Rica, I'm having the most common Costa Rican thing going on, which is slow internet today. So instead of that, I'm going to be doing this because I want to rant about this. And part of me wants to just push through so that I can get through this without getting bogged down and doing 3 hours. It'd be good. If you don't know who I am, I'm Suzanne Titkemeyer. I used to write for Pathos, a column called No Longer Quivering, for over 10 years. I covered the evangelical quiverful movement and various branches of evangelicalhood, which is how I'm knowing about some of these people. I am getting ready to release a book called With Strange Fire, and more about that is available on my website, withstrangefire.com, along with selected writings from No Longer Quivering. Pathos says completely delisted everything from the non-religious spectrum. So I'm in the middle of moving my archive over, and only the things that are really worthwhile to read instead of the daily making the donuts, because I had to write daily for them as a daily columnist. And not everything is what I be something I'm proud of, but it's there. If you could do the YouTubey things, like, subscribe, click the bell notifications, I would be very appreciative. Just like I'm very appreciative you're watching this. These are my opinions. Now, my considered opinions, considering I lived in that world nearly 20 years, and I've been out a long time now and been studying this. Don't bully anybody that I talk about or don't talk about or connect in any way with this. Please don't bully anybody. And don't be rude to each other. I mean, there's really no call for that. I had some thoughts today on some of the people and communities who are bullying each other, but that's going to have to wait for another day. I'm here to talk about John MacArthur, his church, Grace Community Church, and the Master's Seminary, his ministry, his, man, why am I having problems with this? His seminary and his ministry. So, how did I know about this? Well, I actually have slight links to the whole John MacArthur thing. My ex-pastor, my quiverful church, and this is like the third or fourth time I've tried to record this. You should hear some of the things I say when the recordings go sideways. I should do an obscene takes reel for that. It's actually kind of funny. Okay, back to John MacArthur. John MacArthur was an acquaintance of Bill Gothard's, and you know who Gothard is. He ran ATI IBLP for many, many years until he got caught in a scandal, a sex scandal, and got moved on along. And John MacArthur and others took giant steps back from him, but at one point they were kind of intertwined and they were doing conferences together. Um, the thing with John MacArthur, recently he's been in the news for a couple different things. Jinger Duggar Vuolo wrote a book called Becoming Free Indeed, in which he's promoting his theology without saying how toxic it is. And her book could not have come out at a worse point in the history of any of this, because some things I'm about to talk about with it's coming out about John Mack. Like I said, my old pastor was going to his seminary for some years, getting first a master's and then later a PhD there in Los Angeles. He flew back and forth and did a whole lot of online everything with them. And he would bring back theology and teachings from this place. And this is back when I was still drinking the Kool-Aid. So I'm sitting there in the pew kind of like this, going, yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that. So I was very familiar with theology from many years ago, and was not a big fan of it. I'm less of a big fan now, and not because of the Ginger book. That is kind of just like an unfortunate thing right now because we're getting ready to go into this. He has had a lot of scandals coming out. Okay. And I mean more scandal than him just having long COVID, not being able to preach but once one Sunday. Apparently he has long COVID. I feel bad for him, but he also was a COVID denying pastor for a long time. And Los Angeles had to threaten him with some pretty big penalties to even get him to shut down his stupid church when they were having horrid COVID rates in Los Angeles, and they were trying to desperately to bring that down. Because of people like him, John MacArthur, and others, we now have chronic COVID, so we're going to have to be taking shots for COVID just like the yearly flu shot. Thanks, John. But he was hardly the only one. An evangelical town that seemed to be a hill to die on, a stupid, stupid hill to die on, by not taking care of your fellow humans by refusing to do basic things. But that's not what I wanted to rant about. John was rumored to have that his wife has Alzheimer's and she is in a nursing home states away from where he is. And I gotta say, I know somebody else in this world who did the exact same thing when their wife got Alzheimer's. This guy stuck his wife in a nursing home and then flaked off here to Costa Rica where he's living. He's living like a craven billionaire while his wife is sitting in a care facility eating Jello. I don't know what it is about these guys, but they just take the wrong thing all the time on what they're doing. And you're looking at them going, really? Really? That's the best you can do? So, this week there's been a lot that has come out about John MacArthur and his church. We have been hearing for years that there was covered up abuse there, and there has been. Reading through Ginger's book, I was kind of aghast because there were so many times when she was talking about something about Bill Gothard, and I'm sitting there going, and? Do you understand your pastor has the exact same thoughts and actions? Example, discipline of children. Okay, discipline of children. In that world, we know that these good patriarchs, these good non-denominational evangelical patriarchs have a thing for spanking children and beating children. You've got Michael Pearl of No Greater Joy, who sells an abuse manual by the name of To Train Up a Child. It basically says whack the biscuits out of your kid anytime they even get the gleam in their eye that they're thinking about independence. Then there's Bill Gothard, who preached something very similar, but he didn't exactly tell you had to run out and buy a plumbing pipe and beat the child. Well, it comes out that John MacArthur has been preaching in his church, and I'd heard this before, but I only got confirmation of it a few days ago in the Roy's report, what they were doing. It is rumored that they were promoting a whacker to whack the biscuits out of your children. It was a 6 to 12-inch leather strap they were advocating. A leather strap. I think about that leather strap hitting the sweet, plump, chubby legs of a toddler and want to cry. That's no way to discipline your child. Physical violence merely teaches that physical violence is okay if you're bigger and stronger than the other person. It doesn't solve anything. The only thing it does with children is it teaches them to be more devious. It teaches them to lie and to have pretend compliance. It doesn't teach them why they should obey you. It doesn't teach them anything about it except how to slide on past you. And a lot of these families I've known that have taken this road, the kids go no contact immediately. So many of them, or else they carry it forward. My understanding about Michael Pearl is he had been beaten severely by his grandmother. So he was just carrying forward the abuse that he himself received. I'm sorry, my asthma's been kind of crazy and sore lungs, sore throat. But John MacArthur advocates the exact same thing with his whacker. Every time I read about that, I think about Stephen King's detective character in his books, um, Mr. Mercedes, and what was the other one? Into Watch. Bill. I can't remember what Bill's name was, but Bill had something called a happy slapper, which was a sock full of ball bearings. Every time I hear about one of these good Christian patriarchs advocating the abuse of children, it's kind of like, yeah, I kind of wish somebody would come along with a happy slapper and give you a smack upside the head, even though that's no answer. So I'm not advocating that in any way, shape, or form. I'm not a fan of violence, but sometimes I think those things, and it's not good. I have to remind myself that the Bible says, love justice, do justice, love mercy. And there's a lot of components of that. So the newest thing is about John MacArthur that's come out this week is one of the four elders on the elders board. And most of these non-denominational churches, they have an elders board, and they usually have not just an elders board, but a couple other different boards, and they have all these different rules and things. It can only be men. Only men can sit on these committees. Well, one of the ones on John MacArthur's board was a guy by the name of Jan Cho, who's a lawyer. They asked Jan to go ahead and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I'm just an old lady, doesn't get all these names. So it's not intentional. So John MacArthur and others asked him to review the records from a case of SA that was alleged to have taken place a long time ago. It wasn't anything recent even. To make sure that they took the right action. Well, what happened was Mr. Cho looked at everything and decided that the church had not only not done the right thing, they'd failed abysmally. So he tried to talk to them about this, and they were kind of like, thank you for your input. So they didn't even take him seriously about this. So he started doing some digging and looking through records and things, and he discovered a huge pattern going way back of that church doing exactly that thing, putting down women. One of the cases, which was one of the most disturbing ones I read through, and I'm going to put links in the description to all of these articles I'm talking about, okay? One of the cases, the woman was divorcing her abusive husband, who routinely lit her up. And she was worried for her children, because he'd been doing the thing on the children too. And the church lined up against her. They treated her like she was garbage and tossed her out and everything else, and were supporting the husband, even when the husband did SA to the children. They still lined up with him against the mother who's just trying to protect her children. What kind of blank, 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 blank does that? I ask you, I don't know. So he discovered a pile of abuse that had gone on, and that the church had protected and justified the abusers, not the abused. They tossed the abused out. The real victims said, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya, sort of thing. And they wouldn't take him seriously, even though he wrote a report that was like over 20 pages long. A 20-page report that detailed all of this, and they pretty much just buried it. So he went to the media about it. He went to, and I'm having a silly little brain fart. Let me go ahead and see if I can. Christianity Today. He went to one of the reporters there and gave them all the information on this, dates, times, people, places, and did just a stunning takedown of the culture of toxicity going on at Grace Community Church. Remember I said, do justice, love mercy? You have to protect victims. Women and children deserve your protection. If you were in an organization and it comes out, and one of the cases was horrific because it was a pastor who was doing this stuff, and they covered for the pastor for like 3 or 4 years until he left. I am just flabbergasted and astounded. I know I say this every time there's a case where these guys come out and they're proving to be the most abusive A-clowns on the planet. Like, really? Are we here again? I was talking to a Christian friend of mine the other day about all this too, and he was talking about, oh, well, what do we do to build it back from this level? And I'm kind of like, at this point, I'm like, I don't think there is any building back from any of this. I almost think we should let the modern evangelical, non denominational church world die, burn it down. Because even when something dies, at least provides fertilizer for something newer, better, stronger to arise. And I believe that seriously about the evangelical churches now. Too much crazy is just going on. And it's not just in the States. I hear reports of this left and right. All my friends who tell me, did you see this in this part of the world or that? And I don't even know what to think anymore about these guys, except burn it down, burn it down, burn it down. And what do I mean by burn it down? Do I mean showing up and lighting a match? No, I don't mean anything remotely like that. I mean calling these guys out when they approve of abuse, calling these guys out when they hide abusers, calling these guys out when they victimize the true victims of these crimes. And they are crimes, make it no doubt about that, in our country and in many others. What happened to these women and these children is a crime, and it deserves to be punished. This is not optional. I think in order for the church to completely reform and be unborn, spiritual abuse victims, literal abuse victims, SA victims have to be believed and listened to and loved into health and helped and everything else. I feel that very strongly right now. I mean, if you look at the stuff that Jesus did, I don't think that runs counter to anything he did. Whereas I think covering for abusers does run counter to everything that he did. I just don't see it. I am so disgusted right now with the non-denominational, high demand religious organization world of evangelicalism. It's dying, and perhaps it should die. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying with me while I rant about this. And I'm going to make a prediction. This is going to show up sometime after I've said all this in that YouTuber's social media. She's going to grab this story and run with it like she's been running with it all along, anything about the church, while missing the big issues like this. She has missed the abuse angle. Some great victims advocate you are, girl. Okay, I am really going to go this time. Have a wonderful weekend. Will I be back tomorrow? I don't know. I don't even know if my husband's going to church tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see. Love you guys. Great weekend. Even Pork back there says hello and goodbye.